Hey Harvard, what we're going to do today is define the difference between linear and nonlinear, and then function and non-function. I'm going to start with the definition of something that is linear. Pause this video and write your own definition of what linear is. I've put my definition of linear up here. Linear is an equation that forms a line, and if this forms a line, what pieces of information does this need to have? I know that if something's linear or makes a line, then it must have a slope. And if it has a slope, that means it has a constant rate of increase or a constant rate of decrease. Cool, we know what linear is, so therefore we can also define something that's non-linear. We know this prefix non means not. So if we know that linear is an equation that forms a line, what is nonlinear? And if linear must have a slope, then what is something that's nonlinear? What does it not have? Go ahead and pause this video and write your own definition of nonlinear. Next, we're going to quickly define function. Functions can be linear, and sometimes they can be nonlinear. Here's an example of a linear function because it forms a line. Here is an example of a nonlinear function. It does not form a line, but it is still a function. A function is an equation that every input, there is exactly one output. For every input, for every x value, there is exactly one y value. Go ahead and write the definition of a function in your own words. Now there's one other thing that we're going to be talking about, and that is a non-function. A non-function is something where the input or our x value has more than one y value. So this input has two outputs. A non-function is when your input has two outputs. Most of the time, functions are going to be linear. There's only one example of a linear non-function, and that's a line that's straight up and down like this one. Here, I'll make it pink. This is the only example of a linear non-function. A couple more notes about linear versus nonlinear, which is going to be our focus for today. So, linear versus nonlinear. Linear are equations that follow the rule y equals mx plus b. Now, these might be in different orders. You could have mx equals b minus y. It doesn't matter the order that it is in, as long as there is one y value and an x value, you have a linear equation. Again, as long as there is a y and an x, you have a linear equation. So y equals 2x plus 3. I see a y, I see an x, it is linear. This could also look like 2x equals y minus 3. Again, I have a y and I have an x, so it is linear. I have exactly one x and exactly one y. Exactly one x and one y are going to make your equations linear. Go ahead and write that in your notes. Now, if you have something that is nonlinear, it does not have one x and one y. So something that's nonlinear may be y squared equals 3x plus 5. I have an x, but here I have y squared, and because it is squared, it is nonlinear. Here's another example of a nonlinear equation. I have a y and I have an x, but if you take a look, this x is raised to the second power, and because it is squared, that doesn't mean I have one x, I have x times x, which makes it nonlinear. I think the trickiest problems are ones that look like this. Maybe if we have something like 2 over y equals x plus 3. Now I want to decide, is this linear or nonlinear? Well, there is one x and one y. And because the y is not raised to any power, this one is linear. Next is function versus non-function. Most of the time, if we see a linear relationship, if we see a y and an x value, it is going to be a function. The tricky part is with exponents. If something is y squared, or if something looks like y plus 3 cubed, if anything with the y value has an exponent, in this case a 2, in this case a 3, if your y has an exponent, it is non-linear. If your x has an exponent, or you see something like y equals 2 plus x squared, because the x has the exponent with it, anytime the x has the exponent, it is linear. One quick change that you need to make, if you look at your packet all the way at the bottom right where it says function or not function, you see y equals 2 plus x squared, the far one on the right. I would like you to change that. Please change that to y squared equals 3 plus x, changing that last problem. You have this rest of this worksheet to do. All your writing is linear or nonlinear. Good luck.